Silent slurping. Hey everybody, how you doing? Good evening. Welcome to another live stream with me, Charlie Landon. This is Moving Home with Charlie. I felt so compelled to do this live stream today. I don't know if any of you, if you've been following me on X today, you'll know probably what I'm about to talk about. Someone sent me a link to this headline today. Sorry, there it is. There it is. Britain is on the verge of a house price boom. Boom. And, you know, on the one hand, it makes you laugh. And on the other hand, it drives you mad because for all of those of you who are massively frustrated with how clogged up the housing market feels if you are trying to move, whether you are a buyer who simply cannot find what you're looking for in the budget that you have, or whether you are a seller wondering why nobody's offering you anything close to the price you're asking on your house, there's no single reason for that. There is a confluence of things that contribute to that. And I'm going to go into the article. We're going to go through it a bit because I really want to help people understand this. But it's so deeply frustrating, and there's honestly nothing anyone can do to stop it. I mean, there were two stories like this out today, and it's just relentless. It's like a tsunami of house price bullshit that never stops. And it comes from an outdated belief amongst many senior people. And I say senior, not junior, because younger agents aren't as bad at this, but older agents who believe deeply in their blood that the property market is about confidence, that intangible, nebulous thing, confidence that if you have it, you'll buy, you'll pay more money for your house. And what that cohort of people in the industry do not understand is that, yes, buyers will sell their grandparents to get enough money to get on the housing ladder, which, by the way, another article talks about as being permanently broken. A building society report that Damien Talks Money covered in his video, which I linked to on X and on YouTube, talks about how the housing ladder isn't a thing anymore. It doesn't exist. It's broken. There's no such thing as a housing ladder anymore, right? And yet, as per Friday's video, when we talked, I got that buyer up there saying, my lender has downvalued the house I want to buy and I want them to upvalue it. I want to pay more for my home. I'll pay anything for my home. And despite the fact that many first-time buyers would pay any money they could get their hands on to get onto the housing ladder that isn't a housing ladder anymore, despite that, sellers' asking prices are still out of reach. And it is articles like this total fuckery from the Express today that are making this worse for everyone, for buyers, for sellers, and for agents who can't get enough transactions to keep their doors open. Transaction volumes are struggling and suffering. Sellers can't sell and they're scratching their heads wondering why there's nothing but tumbleweed blowing past their front door rather than buyers queuing up for an open house. And buyers wondering why on earth the lenders won't lend them enough to buy. And it is because of this shit. This relentless, I honestly, I was like, really? Seriously? So let's just take a look at this article in the Express. I mean, it's funny, but it also isn't funny. Britain on the verge, this is the Express, this is today's Express. Britain on the verge of house price boom. Really? I mean, the number of sellers who will have seen that today and gone, see, that's why I'm not lowering my asking price. That's why I'm not lowering my asking price, because the newspapers have said it, and not just the Express, but the Tory graph. House prices to leap by more. I mean, this is gospel. It's fact. It's black and white in the headlines. House prices are going to leap by more than 60 grand in the next 5 years. Easing mortgage costs. No, they're not. Mortgage costs haven't eased. They've been going up for a while. I simply cannot get my... I mean, is there a man with a gun to the head of these journalists? Or is there a man with a gun at Lucian Cook's head? Lucian Cook is head of research at Savills, that until today, was a property company that even I actually could have respected and thought had some credibility. But this is a whole new world of shit that we've got here today. Let me just go back to the Express, and let's just pick this apart. Bullish UK property assessment reveals tumbling inflation, interest rates. What? Interest rates haven't tumbled, and mortgage lending joy are set to boost house prices. Now, this man, Giles Sheldrick, needs to have a word with himself. I'm assuming he wrote this under duress. Britain's resurgent economy is firing a house price boom. Is firing a house price boom. It's like it's happening right now, today. Quick, hurry up, everyone. Jump onto the housing ladder because it's going to the moon. Allow me to just cut to some figures that were out today from the British Retail Consortium that haven't made headlines that I've seen. UK total retail sales decreased by 4% year on year in April. Resurgent economy that's booming and. Also out, this was last week. This is the London Stock Exchange latest red flag alert report for Q1 2024. Over 500,000 UK businesses fighting for survival as UK economy stagnates. No, it's not stagnating. It's resurgent. It's a resurgent economy, and it's firing the house price boom. Haven't you seen the Express? You fools at the London Stock Exchange and Begbies Trainer, everything's absolutely fine. In further evidence of a lifting of the gloom, it is estimated. So what he's saying here is that somebody's estimate is evidence of gloom is lifting. It is estimated that average house prices could reach some silly plucked out of the arse figure by 2028, and that is evidence of gloom lifting. The upbeat assessment is a welcome boost to millions after years of mortgage. So this guy, Lucian Cook, is exactly the kind of guy I'm talking about at agency. He thinks that confidence will boost sales. And what's interesting is that Knight Frank's most recent comment on house prices was actually very muted and subdued and talked about no more house price rises in this year or next year. And now Savills are coming in. And, Savills and Knight Frank are sworn competitive enemies, fighting each other over business all the time. And I reckon someone at Savills has gone to Lucian Cook. That nutter over at Knight Frank has actually admitted what the housing market is doing. Let's put something out, because all the people thinking about selling their expensive houses are going to look at Knight Frank's commentary that says it's not going anywhere, and look at Savills saying going to the moon, and they're going to instruct us. Lucian Cook of real estate giant Savills, which undertook the analysis. I mean, this isn't analysis. This is just pure guff. The outlook for 2024 has improved since our last forecast as mortgage costs have nudged down slightly. No, Lucian, they haven't. They've been nudging up for some time and are much less volatile. Not really. They're not much. The outlook for economic growth has also slightly improved. Well, that's not a resurgent economy. So we must give Lucian Cook the benefit of the doubt here that actually the journalist twisted his economic growth outlook has slightly improved into resurgent economy. Pointing to relatively modest house price growth this year. Okay, so that relatively modest house price growth this year is what Lucian's actually said, and that the Expresses and the Telegraph have turned into rockets going to the moon. So what we can tell from this photograph of Lucian is that he's not a millennial. I don't think he'd object to me saying that. And is part of the old guard that just thinks that, tell them what they want to hear and they'll sign on the dotted line. Savills said across Britain, property values are expected to have risen by an average of 21% by the end of 2028. I mean, this is all such rubbishing a widely predicted 3% drop fall, which was forecasted by doom mongers in early November. Right, okay. All right, guys. And here's the Telegraph getting on the action and talking about how everything's absolutely fine. I don't know what this is about. I've got no idea what absolute tools are pumping out this complete bollocks. I mean, this is the most acute bollocks I've seen published on UK house prices for quite some time, basing it on the resurging economy. Come on, for fuck's sake. It's my frustration is not to do with house prices. It's to do with the standoff between buyers and sellers that is killing house price transactions. Sorry, that's killing housing transactions because sellers are just digging their heels in and going, nope, house prices are definitely going up because I've read it in the paper. It's all they need. That tiny little bit of confirmation bias. See, no, we're not dropping our price. And every time agents like Savills, who rely on transaction volumes, put this kind of shit out there, it's like financial self-harm. The sooner we can clear out the dead wood at the top of the property industry that insists on running it like it's still the 1970s, the better for British society who wants to get on a move. Because there are so many people who want to move. There are sellers who want to sell. There are buyers who want to buy. And none of them can do it because this endless campaign to convince people that house prices go only one way, which is patently and demonstrably not true right now, because they think that's the only way to win business off each other. It's like panicking. It's like, oh my God, we're not making enough money. We're not selling enough houses. We must get more instructions. No. If you get more instructions that you can't sell, that will only accelerate your downturn in income. What you need is sellers actually coming to terms with the reality of what's happened in the housing market and understanding that they need to lower their asking prices if they want to sell. I honestly, I do feel like I'm just looking at some of your comments in the live chat. I do feel like I'm just battering my head against a wall with this, which is why, and this is one of the reasons I'm not doing so many videos at the moment. It's why it's so important that we kill this overinflated house price narrative. We've got to kill it stone dead. The ramifications go much further than just house price transactions. It's social mobility that's affected. I'm happy for the house prices to find their own natural equilibrium in the market, whatever that is, right? But everybody benefits if more people can move house. Everybody, including estate agents. Everybody benefits if you just stop pretending that prices are going up when they're not. When they are going up, that's fine, okay? But actually, if you think about it, rising house prices is divisive. You'd end up with the haves and the have-nots, and it just gets worse when there aren't enough houses to buy. It doesn't help everybody. It only helps a few people. But anyway, as there was that article out today, I wish I'd thought about putting it up there, that shows that basically, adjusted for inflation, house prices have flatlined since 2007. Just flatlined, right? Nominal house price increases have meant nothing for the last 15, 16 years. And this is why there are so many people who just can't get their head around the fact that the actual value of their home has not gone up for a very long time. The number of pounds that it's worth has gone up, but the value of pounds has gone down and doesn't buy you as much stuff anymore. And it isn't going to pay for your care costs in your old age. And I'm so worried about the number of people who think that buying a home now, and I know you can see it every single day. I still see evidence. And by the way, I've got a story I want to show you in a minute from a seller, which I'm going to share with you, which is important. But you can still see every single day the rose-tinted spectacles of buyers thinking that they're getting onto the housing ladder. Now, I am arguably the biggest supporter. I think there'd be nothing better for us as a country if people, especially families, were able to afford to buy a home they want to live in for a long time. That's not happening at the moment. That needs to happen. And there are many ways that can be brought about. But artificially propping up the market makes that problem worse. And there are still countless buyers and countless sellers just being sucked into the trap. Because when you've got an industry this big that just cranks up the guff every single day, it's impossible to push back against it. It's a tsunami of guff. So this is why I say, definitely buy a house if you can afford to buy a house and you want a home, you want to live in it, you can stay for a while. But I had another, actually, this is one of the ones I wanted to go through. No, where is it? Oh God, I need to find this. A really important question from a mover. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it now. So what they were saying is, we're buying with a 15% deposit. We've had an offer accepted. We're really happy. It was a bit brutal because there was a bidding war. We want to move in 5 years. Do you think we should, quotes, go for it? No. Because the fact that you've used the words go for it with a 15% deposit after having just won a bidding contest says to me very loud and clear that going for it means rolling the dice and taking a gamble. And if it's a gamble and you want to move in 5 years in this market, no, I definitely wouldn't do it. I would walk away from anything that's got a bidding war in it, and I would wait for something that hasn't got a bidding war where you're the only buyer. Are most people overpaying at the moment? Yes, I think they are. If you want to buy a home without overpaying, you've got to make sure you find a home that you're not in a crazy bidding war. And you've got to take your time and put in an offer that you really feel comfortable isn't going to stop you moving in a few years' time if you've only got a 15% deposit. Overpaying, it means different things for different people, but it's still happening an awful lot. Not enough for a lot of agents. And with sellers, the problem is a different one. People who really, really need to sell. I'm now going to, it's quite long, this seller's story. But for those of you who are watching as sellers, this story is worth listening to because it's an absolute nightmare that, from what I can tell, the seller did not deserve at all. They didn't get greedy. They weren't overpricing. They were accepting offers. But it's the nightmare that happens when you don't pick a really good agent. And it also highlights the fact that finding a buyer is 20% of the job. Getting the deal over the line is 80% of the job, and it's where the skill and real service comes in. So let me I'm going to put this up on screen. It's a lot of. I'm not sure if I should. It's just going to actually look like something. I'll put it up on screen so you can see it. Ba, 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 ba. It's too small for you to read, but I just still want you to know that these are the actual words out there being read. There we go. Let's do this. Let's do this. I am currently a seller. My question is, how can I make sure that I'm taking the most I can for my asset in this market? So here's a seller that's worried about underpaying. I have a firm offer and the finances are okay for me. I can accept it, but this is my only asset. And once it's gone, it's gone. So I want to make sure I'm not losing out after over a decade living in and developing the property slash my home. After this, I'll take some questions, by the way, guys. I have a bit of a backstory, but the short version is, this is the short version. Went on the market with a local agent in June 2023, so nearly a year ago, which then got bought by a national agent. I had several offers in the first weekend, each above asking price. This tells me that the seller chose the agent quite well and wasn't greedy on asking price. She got several offers in the first weekend, each above asking price. That is a sensibly priced property. I accepted an offer, 570,000. We went all the way through the process. At the last minute, the buyer pulled out due to finances with a mortgage. Right. This means that the agent didn't properly qualify that first buyer. This then happened a second time with a lower price, 550,000, with a cash buyer who took months to sell their property only to turn around and pull out of the sale. So in other words, the second buyer changed their mind and pulled out of selling their home. This is again something that can happen, and really, really good agents will spot this coming in advance. I changed agents to a small independent local agent in January this year, 4 months ago. Again, I had lots of views and a couple of offers around the asking price, 550. I accepted the first time buyer with a good deposit, but below the asking price, 525. In other words, she didn't even take the highest offer. She took what she thought was the most proceedable offer at 525. She took a haircut, keen to get the deal done. At the last minute, they discovered they were pregnant with a first child and needed to rethink their situation, so pulled out of the sale. I went back to the market with a 525 asking. Market has, and by the way, this is someone who says they've been watching my channel for over a year, so therefore they've been taking my advice and not overpricing it. Market has shifted even more. This being almost a year since I started my journey, I've accepted a low offer, particularly compared to my very first. I believe in following what the market is saying, so I've accepted 500,000. So this is a seller who accepted 570,000 less than a year ago and is now down to 500,000. They've lost £70,000 with buyer after buyer after buyer pulling out. Now, this person went on to tell me that there were actually also fishy stuff happening with the agent trying to use the buyer to get another deal over the line as well. And actually, that's what made this deal fall through. Everyone that visits loves my place. It ticks all the boxes, and when asked if they will even offer something, they're currently saying no, that it is worth the money in comparison with other properties viewed, but it is over their budget. So I accepted the only real offer that has officially come forward. Blah, blah, blah. I feel really let down by buyers. I've gone from accepting an offer of 570 to now an offer of 500 over the course of a year. I understand the house is only worth what someone offers. I can't help but feel disadvantaged by all those buyers. They paid for surveys. They went through the whole process. In other words, they were apparently committed buyers. They spent money, only to then not complete, and each one taking 3 months or so to get to that point, meaning other potential buyers have passed by. Okay, so this is an absolute nightmare scenario for that seller, and you know, it also shows that wherever that particular property is, the market has definitely come down from where her property would have sold for 570 a year ago down to 500 now. And it's going through, but she's now feeling that she's not sure she's getting the best price for it. Should she try and push for another offer at a higher price? So this is a story that really highlights the difference between a good agent and a great agent, because the difference between the two and why it's worth paying a higher fee is because in this scenario, a really experienced, really good agent would have been more likely to see these problems coming earlier, either avoid them altogether or hold it together before it fell through, and have other buyers lined up. This is incredibly bad luck, but also, as she went on to tell me in another message, had something to do with the agents playing silly buggers. So if you're a seller and you need and want to sell and you've got no offers, your price is too high and you're with the wrong agent, change agent, price below where you think the market is, get competing offers to discover what the market actually is for your property. Okay. Um, Choosing your agent, if you need to sell, you should choose like your life depends upon it. And when you find an agent that you trust that can do the job, pay the fee they ask. It is counterproductive to try and chip them on the fee because you want them to go away and make sure that yours is the house that doesn't get fallen, the one that's fallen through and slips between the cracks. You want them to be more motivated to sell your house than the others that they're selling. You want them to work harder for you than they are for the other sellers in this buyer's market, where it's mostly a buyer's market everywhere. Right. That was just a quick one. Do we have questions? Do we have questions? Um, Andy Hepburn says, anecdotally, I see my area, South Manchester, a lot more on the market. Actually, I know just anecdotally that South Manchester has actually been one of the areas holding up more than most areas. So to see this is interesting. A lot more on the market and homes that have been on a while changing agents rather than lowering prices. Waste of time. AM says, yeah, even if you take a short-term view of interest rates, banks have been easing mortgage rates up again recently. Yes, they have. And I suspect they're going to continue rising up because five-year swap rates have been going up. Any questions, guys? Yeah, that's actually, to be fair. AM says, to be fair to Lucian Cook, his statement doesn't justify the journalist's hyperbolic portrayal of it. I agree with that. I agree. Jamie Boyle, gaslighting on an industrial scale by the media. Yes, I agree. Oh, this is a good question. George Dixon. Hello, young Charlie. Thank you. Love being called young. How does one get past the sentimental attachment to one's London home? It being the case that he wishes to flee for a new life by the sea. I think the most powerful and shortest answer to that question is ask yourself what it might cost you if you don't get past the sentimental attachment. That's the short answer. It's difficult though. Or rent it out and go and buy one by the sea if that's doable. Maybe it isn't, but keep your London pad. Yeah, Matt Moe on YouTube says, I had this firsthand today. Sellers believing this news over the facts. Yeah. Yeah, Liam says it's incredible how mainstream interview agents, they don't interview agents, they simply take the press release and slice it and dice it. There are very rarely interviews because this was just published to the media, and the job of the report is to get Savills more press, and it works. That's why they do it all the time. Yeah, Neil Muir says it's clear that there may only be 1/4% rate cut this year. The headlines are garbage. Totally agree. Billy Big Cool says made an offer 12% below asking, seller not willing to enter into negotiation. Properties probate sale. Well, if they haven't had probate granted yet, then they're going to wish they'd taken your hands off. Yeah, Joel Didcot Williams says I'd rather a ruin that stood for 200 years than a new build. I don't disagree with that. Uh, Yes, Cats123 says, it sucks when people pull out. Mhm. You can make of that what you will. Um, Jim Pops Acid 88 says, I've just handed my notice in. I think you're an agent, aren't you, Jim? I need a break from agency. I can let you know that offers have picked up. This is because personally I've had to force brutal reductions, but most sellers are stubborn. Okay, good to know. Remind me what part of you're Devon, aren't you? And offers picking up is great news. That means that's good for activity, but it doesn't necessarily mean the prices are going up, does it? Um, Robin K says, "Are you still predicting a 35% drop? If so, what time period?" First of all, I have never predicted a 35% drop. I have said it's my expectation. There is a really important difference between that, right, guys? And yes, that remains my expectation. Um, and more economic indicators coming out back it up. That's what I see happening. If so, what time period? I don't know. It's from the peak of 2022 to the trough, whenever that is. I think it's going to be sometime 2025, but it could go on sliding after that and flatlining for a long time. I don't know where the bottom is, but that's where the bottom is. I don't know when the bottom is, but 35% is where I think the bottom is, because thanks to newspaper headlines like we've had today, thanks to constant government messaging that everything's fine, and thanks to the fact that nobody wants to believe how shit things really are, and I get why, that's a totally acceptable human factor. Nobody wants to believe that things are that shit. Add all these things together, no one is really, very few people understand, A, what a perilous state our economy already is in. B, the fact that it hasn't really grown at all for about 15 years since the 2008 downturn. And C, there is no prospect of economic recovery anytime soon that I can see. And even if there is, if it's clinging on by its fingernails to flatline growth at the national GDP level, that's companies making profits and it's not filtering down to people earning money. And that's why GDP per head or income per person in real terms is still going down. All right. And I cannot see a source of that turning around for some considerable time yet. And look at all the things we've got coming: an election, more uncertainty there, maybe a hung parliament. I mean, who knows? There's just no sign of a pickup. I mean, what would change my mind is if any government, this one, the new one, whatever, any government said, we are going to stop spending money on bills, and instead we're going to start spending money on building social homes where they are most needed. We're going to do it as fast as we can. We're going to create massive employment. We're going to make sure that that creates employment for British companies and British workers. That will stimulate the economy and stimulate growth and put money in people's pockets and create jobs and a reason to get out of bed in the morning for people who currently can't be fucked to get out of bed in the morning. So they're on the not working but not unemployed list, right? That old fucking chestnut. And you give people homes to live in that are actually decent homes where you can turn your life around and start to get on with your life. You also create competition for the private sector to pull their finger out of their arse and build better quality, better value homes, which they're forced to do if house prices aren't going up. Because rather than building stuff to milk house prices rising and milk fat profits, they're forced to build homes that people actually need. Okay, and the technologies that other countries are doing this. There are high-tech, high-quality methods of building homes. For some reason in this country, we cannot seem to get our head around. We are so behind the times in house building tech, and so that would genuinely make me change my mind about the economy. And if you change my mind on the economy, you change my mind on house prices. Okay, the bottom line is the reason I'm so bearish on house prices is because I'm so bearish on the economy. So Robin K, that answers your question, hopefully. Hopefully, people that need to move in time to get into new schools for September will take a deep breath and drop their prices now. Tina B. There's no chance. That's too late. That ship has sailed. If you have not got your memorandum of sale issued to all parties in a transaction by now, there's no way you're moving into a new home in time for September. I mean, unless you're really lucky and it's a really slick transaction with a chain-free transaction with everything lined up. Everyone wants the move to happen quickly. Everyone's getting on top of their paperwork. The conveyancers are getting on top of their paperwork. Everyone, if you're lucky and your memorandum of sale has already been issued now, then maybe there's a chance of getting into a new school for September. Otherwise, that ship's already sailed. You're looking at Christmas now. Welsh Hibby says, I'm a possible first-time buyer in the next year and 50 years old. You young whippersnapper, you. Will a 50 to 60% deposit help here? Yes, it will help a lot. And that will also limit your exposure to the downside or potential negative equity. So that's good. Boel Cura, that's a new name I don't recognize, on YouTube. Hello there, welcome. Says, hi Charlie, do different estate agents in a town or area communicate and compare notes about potential buyers? E.g. potential buyer using Charlie's first time buyer template. It's very, I mean, in small towns, that could happen. In larger, busier cities, that's extremely unlikely. AJ, okay. AJ says, how do I approach renegotiating a price I've had, an offer accepted, and I'm very keen on the house, but I'm sure the report which was done today will bring up things which means I'll want a few thousand off. All right. First of all, AJ, that sounds to me like you just want to renegotiate. You go on to say, I don't care about upsetting people, but there is something I should do or specifically I shouldn't do. Specifically, nobody should pay more than they're really comfortable paying, number one. Number two, if you have found that you are proceeding to buy a house at a price that you're no longer comfortable with, and by the way, let me define that. A price you're no longer comfortable with means a price that you will no longer pay. You will walk away rather than pay that price, right? The way to do it, if you've got legitimate reasons to renegotiate, is first of all, be certain to yourself that I'm no longer paying that price, I'm paying this price. And most people like to give lots of reasons and explanations. I don't think it makes a difference. All that matters is either they've got another buyer who's going to offer more than you, or they haven't. Right? If they have, they'll drop you or go with the other buyer if you know your price. If they haven't, they're either going to pull out of the sale and not move, or sell to you at the new price. Those are the only outcomes possible. They go to another buyer, they accept your new price, or they pull out of the sale. Those are the only three. There are no other outcomes to this scenario if you want to renegotiate, right? You just submit your revised price by email and say, due to changing circumstances, and yeah, if there is a valid thing that comes back in the survey, show. Don't clutch at straws, because honestly, it's like police pulling someone over for speeding and asking them why they were speeding. They've heard every excuse in the book, and agents know a mile away a buyer who's trying to cover up the fact they just want to reduce their price with, oh, the survey said this. I mean, everybody does it. Don't be that buyer. Don't be that cliched buyer. Don't be a cliche. Just don't do that, right? If you want to pay less, just say, I'm no longer comfortable paying that price. This is my new price. Don't try and sugarcoat it with bullshit excuses. If the survey has a legitimate, genuine, oh, we've discovered this problem, and that problem has a price attached to fixing the problem, then that's different. You have legitimate grounds to say, well, there's my reason straight away. But otherwise, don't get into discussions. Just say, this is my new price, and it's either this or I walk away. And if you're not prepared to do that, don't renegotiate. Billy Bobhouse says, this is a really important point. I don't know what to believe anymore. All the properties I'm looking at have loads of interest and seem to be going for asking price. Billy, it sounds to me like that's what agents are telling you, which means it's guff. Now, loads of interest is a massive exaggeration and should just be disregarded as a statement. Either they have offers or they don't. Interest, what does that mean? What is loads of interest? Tire kickers? Viewers? What does it mean? Oh, there's so much interest. What, has anyone offered yet? It's like, just whenever someone says, oh, there's loads of interest, well, then why hasn't it sold yet? Why are you showing it to me? Why are you showing me a house if there's loads of interest in it? Now, there might be a genuine reason why an agent says, because we're trying to make sure we get the best offer for the house. Okay, that's fine. So if they say, we've got two other buyers who viewed and have made an offer, we're showing you and we're showing someone else to see if there are any more offers. That's our job. Our job is to get as many buyers interested as possible. We do have other offers. But when they say, oh, there's loads of interest, that's usually just bollocks. And as I've always said, if that is the case, the best way to flush it out, if it is bollocks, is by saying, oh, in that case, let me know if it doesn't work out. Give me a call if no one else offers on it. That will normally flush out. Well, maybe we just, we'd like to know, are you interested and would you be interested? To which my answer is, not if I'm competing with other people. No, I'm not interested. I'm not getting into a bidding war. If you don't sell it to someone else, yes, I like the house. Give me a call. Give me a call if no one else offers. Or give me a call with whatever your best offer is if you think but I'm not getting into a bidding. Walk away. Don't get sucked into their game because you will lose and they will win. Seem to be going for asking price. I can only assume, Billy, that what you mean by that is they're showing us sold subject to contract and the asking price hasn't changed. They don't ever change the asking price when it's sold. They never change it to what it's sold for, ever. It just never happens, right? So that's what seems to be going. This is exactly what they want you to believe. And you've got to just ignore it, disregard it, honestly. And just stick to what you're comfortable paying for the property you want. Shortbread Biscuit says, are we saying that this winter should be a good time to buy? Well, as ever, it depends where you are. It depends whether it's house or flat. It depends whether you're high or low end of the budget spectrum for those kind of properties. So there's a million different things. But if you're asking, will prices have bottomed out by this winter? I don't think so. I don't think so. In some places they might, again, I'm generalizing for the whole country, but that doesn't help you individually. Car Solution says, in the West Midlands, agents aren't even letting me book houses to view, saying they're booked up. Majority of houses that I like. They don't really have a limit on bookings normally. That might be something to do with how well you've qualified yourself as a buyer. Have you got a mortgage decision in principle? Do you have proof of your deposit? Are you presenting yourself in the best possible light to the agents? Because if you're keeping your cards close to your chest, that a lot of buyers do, a lot of agents might just mistakenly think you're a time waster and go, no, I'm sorry, we're all booked up. Because all booked up is an unusual thing to hear in a buyer's market. Naomi Griffith said, Mid Devon here, my next door neighbour has had his on the market for 6 weeks and hasn't had a viewing. Has been reduced today. My local area is nothing but reductions. So this is a seller that either was tricked into going with that agent with a high valuation, or it's a seller who's believed the headlines in all the papers going that the house prices are going to the moon and we're on the verge of a house price boom. He's probably unhappy about lowering his price on the day that headlines come out saying there's going to be a house price boom. And the Anonymous says, 8 bloody months this landlord's property is sat empty and he won't take an offer. Nuts. Estate agents must be quietly tearing their hair out. I suspect, Annie, that might be because he's got a mortgage to pay off and he's got no choice. Either he gets the amount he needs to settle the mortgage or he can't sell. That's a guess. There we are. K-Art says, I am looking in Dorset. Houses are almost double what they were 4 or 5 years ago. So we're talking about 2019. that feels like an exaggeration to me. And I know that the Dorset housing market has actually struggled and seen prices come down, but there are a lot of asking prices that are just sitting there, properties that aren't sell when the asking prices are too high. SJT says, by putting your view out there in the compelling way that you do, you are predicting. I am not predicting. You can misinterpret me any way you like. I'm not predicting anything, and I've never made any predictions. I'm telling you because I wouldn't predict. It's stupid to predict because there are things that could change that nobody knows about. This is why I'm expecting. Expectations are not the same as predictions. It's like hope. You can have high hopes and low expectations, right? I can hope for something, but I'm not expecting it. My expectations are based on the available information that's out there publicly, that I have behind the scenes in the industry. I am not predicting anything. I am expecting them to happen for lots of reasons. There are too many things that could change for me to make a prediction. So sorry, SJT. Nope, you are incorrect. I am not predicting, and you are putting words in my mouth like lots of people do. Jim Pops Acid says, you're bang on. People will not accept the shit, stagnant mess of the economy. Annie Nonna says, what is your prediction re Bank of England rates next review, Charlie? I don't know. I don't have a prediction. My expectation is that they'll be unchanged. This is an interesting question. Longinus on YouTube says, how long do estate agents allow for giving up on a property if vendors not open to offers? Right, that depends on the kind of agent. If it's the kind of mass volume, large corporate agent with loads of unsold property on their books and locked into long term, they'll keep you on forever. They don't care how long, because you are cannon fodder for them to sell mortgages and conveyancing to get more buyer inquiries. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. To an estate agent who, an owner managed estate agent who actually cares about their reputation and their costs, etc. After a while, if they cannot talk a vendor down, they will say to the vendor, then you probably should find yourself another agent, and they'll want that seller off the books if they're any self-respecting agent at all. MZ says, you said if we can afford it comfortably and love a property, we should go for it at your maximum comfortable price. But what if it's for people who can afford a high price tag but don't want to overpay? Only you can work out your maximum comfortable price for any given property in your situation. There isn't someone you can look up the price you should offer. You should work out what is it worth to you. That's all you can do. It's not easy, but it's the only way to do it. The private sector can't build anything. Planning is broken. Cala in North Horsham hasn't built anything for 2 years on a massive consented site. Yeah, I agree with you, Will. Yes, and I also agree with on the stupid EU nitrates regulations. Really, really stupid, short-sighted stuff. Isn't it funny? They worry about nitrates for house building, but they allow farmers to pour pure nitrates all over all of their fields as often as they need to. It's a joke, absolute joke. Guys, if you want to make comments that are interesting and thought-provoking, could you please provide some context or some substantiation? Because otherwise it's very hard to tell the difference between what could be a serious comment and what is a total wind-up from a troll. You've got to put some context. Yeah. Dan Barnes says, really can't see where these supposed interest rate cuts are coming from, as inflation is still around 75% higher than what the Bank of England wanted to be. I agree. They are now in America. They are now talking quite regularly about the potential for the Federal Reserve Bank rate to go up this year. Darren Westbury says, when Labour get in, they're going to build loads of social houses. Hope so. If they get in, hope so. Um, yeah. Jameson Conti, cool name. Yield curve has been inverted for over 500 days. The last three times that happened was 2007, shortly before the global financial crisis, 1979, shortly before another recession, and 1929, shortly before a massive global stock market crash and a 10-year depression. Correct. Um, do you know something? I just wish, I really just wish that there was at least one mainstream publication that was better at not regurgitating and exaggerating press releases and actually doing journalism. I suppose some people might say, well, the Financial Times does it, but it's impossible to pretend that they're not somehow manipulated as well. Um, um, PTE Pollyanna on X says, are more mortgages being rejected as our buyers was recently rejected for declared damp problems? Um, that doesn't sound like a problem with your buyer. It sounds like a problem with your property if it's a damp problem, because if the lenders come and do a survey and they see evidence of damp, they might go, no. But I have heard quite a lot of quite a high volume of anecdotes about down valuations happening as well. Um, Robin Kay says, apart from the land registry, what other indicators are there of a number of house transactions? HMRC's stamp duty records have a more up-to-date and more complete number of housing transactions. It's not the land registry, it's HMRC's for their stamp duty calculations. They're much more up-to-date. It's funny, isn't it, how they want their stamp duty money, so it's pretty quick, that data. Wow. Wow. AJ says, I just want to say, Charlie, your letter template and advice allowed my offer to be accepted after 30 hours of the Rightmove listing. Amazing. Fantastic. So happy that's helped. Amasmus, hi there. This is a classic example of a comment with a question mark on the end where there's no actual question. Not sure how to answer that. Not quite sure what your question is. So please actually ask a question and I can answer it. Yeah, Ruth says, I was going to view a house recently. The EA said they were booked up after me. I think they had 6 going to view a fortnight later. The EA was trying to create a bidding war, I think. That's it, yeah, estate agent, that is their job, right? You shouldn't you shouldn't worry about the fact that estate agents are trying to create bidding wars. That is what they want. And if you were selling, it's what you'd want them to do. And there's no point in being frustrated with agents or sellers for doing that. They're trying to find out the best price the market will support for their property, and that's how it's done. Okay, it's not what you want when you're a buyer, and lots of first-time buyers are always outraged that it's happening. But all of those first-time buyers who are outraged 10 years ago that it was happening, when they're coming to sell now, they're like, "Yeah, we're totally fine with the bidding war. That's absolutely fine." That's how it works. It's honestly, it's naive to pretend otherwise as a buyer. You've got to understand that you may be in competition with other buyers for property if the agent's done their job well. So if you are looking at a property where there is a lot of competition, congratulations to the agent on creating the competition, and congratulations to the seller on not overpricing it. And of course, it feels when you're a buyer like everything you're looking at has got so much interest, because the only things you're looking at are the competitively priced ones, aren't they? No one's looking at the other ones, and those are the ones you should be good to look at. If I was a buyer now, wanting to buy a home right now, I would be going to look at all the properties that have been sitting on the market for 6 months. Maybe had a couple of price drops and they're still sitting there. No one else is looking. Go and look. You might have to go look at 5 or 10 of them, but you might find one that they go, we're so happy to have anyone viewing at all. If you're actually prepared to move and make an offer, we might drop our price. So that's what I'd be doing. Oh, Ruth said, I cancelled my viewing as no interest getting to bidding war. House is still in the market. Right. They lied. You should call them back and just say, is there a bidding war or not? Because if there isn't, I'll come and look at it. That's the other thing, guys. Every single day, I see examples of people who haven't made offers because they assumed it wasn't going to work out. Always, 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 assuming you can afford it and you really like the property, make your offer. Always. You've got nothing to lose. The number of people who bought houses because I said, "Have you made an offer?" Well, no, we haven't. Just make your offer. Make it well, make it compelling, but make your offer. You'll be amazed how often that you'll actually go, "Oh my god, we got it." Got to be in it to win it. To use a horrible old cliche, but it's true. Ruth says, "I really thought it would go for full asking price." That's what they want you to think, and it means that their guff is working. AM, thank you. Prediction equals this is what's going to happen. Expectation equals this is what I think is likely to happen. Correct. Thank you very much for that. Do, 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 do. Looking for more questions. Okay, here's a new, so XCVB4321 on YouTube raises a point that I see a lot and it's worth repeating. I'm torn on waiting to buy because do I save on asking price but lose on raising rates? If you aren't out viewing and if you haven't had an offer accepted on a house you want to live in, you don't have a decision to make. You're not even in the game. It's that simple. You are not in a position to make a decision about whether to buy or not until you've had an offer accepted. Dr. Benny Boom Bats asks a challenging but fair question. Did what you expected to happen 18 months ago happen? Were your expectations close? Not as fast as I was expecting it to happen, no. And the thing that I didn't see coming was the competition for first time buyer properties from downsizers. I didn't see that coming. I wasn't expecting that. And that downsizing trend has meant that the prices of larger properties has come down faster, and it has. And you can look for data. There's plenty of data to support that, but that's never reflected in the overall average data. And that's why the overall average data is so useless. The overall average data shows the overall average rather than what's happening regionally and what's happening in different property types and different levels of the market. So prices at the lower end have generally held up better than prices at the higher end because of the downsizing. Martin Coates says Bank of England won't move until the Fed does. I agree. I agree. What? This is amazing. Teddy Kleindienst says, Dear Charlie, I would like to thank you for your moral support. I grew a pair and started pushing realistic valuations. Can we all give a massive thumbs up and thank you and congratulations to agent Teddy, who says he's won 12 valuations in a row today. And wait, are you winding me up? That's sorry, I've just read the last sentence. 12 valuations in a row today and sold 8 of them already. Tell me that's not a wind up, Teddy. I mean, I know someone who used to do 12 valuations in a day. I do. And so I know it's possible, but that's the most I've ever heard of. But if that's true and if that's not a wind up, congratulations. Congratulations. That's absolutely fantastic. And Teddy, could you just find me on LinkedIn, Charlie Lambda on LinkedIn, and message me because I want to talk to you about the Best Agent event on the 27th of June, which the whole concept of it is to stop overvaluing. And whatever, you must be doing a very good job because if you are persuading those sellers that your valuation is realistic in the face of overvaluing, you're doing something very, very well. And if you're getting them sold, that's fantastic. Ba, 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 ba. Ben Watt says the UK 10-year gilts are currently yielding 4.3%, so rates are going to be above that at least over the next 10 years. Bearing that in mind, guys, bond market is the most honest financial instrument. Interesting. Taylor Trades Live says, I feel stuck. I have saved for 5 years and everything is overpriced. I see reductions every day. Agents still are in a bubble and it's very difficult to talk to. I want to get angry at them. Right. Honestly, if in order of blame for the overpricing, it is the non-stop narrative of house prices going up in the press, which is the number one thing. A close number two is the right move asking price index, the right move overpricing index, which only what it does each month is only show the unreduced newly listed prices, and it ignores all price reductions and it ignores everything that came on the market before that month. And so it's showing you the absolutely highest possible figure. That has a major contributing factor to sellers' expectations. Number three, you've then got estate agents going around who've got to try and win business off each other, and they all have to outdo each other in valuation. It's a nightmare. I'm going to try and get. Yeah, I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. Any agents watching this? 27th of June, Best Agent Day is the day we're going to end overvaluing. It's the day we're going to fix estate agency. Big claim, but I promise you. Please follow the Best Agent channels: the Best Agent YouTube channel, Best Agent Instagram channel. Wow, over an hour. Dem on Dim or Demon Dim on YouTube says, is it viable to approach EAs with an interest in a property, in buying a property before it gets listed with an auction house? Yes, it is, absolutely. Oh, K-Art, thank you for clarifying. Yes, I meant 50% up, not double in Dorset. Thank you. Double was a bit rich. Oh, Johan, have I pronounced that right? Johan Hennessy, going to make an offer tomorrow. Wish me luck. Good luck. You don't need luck. Just make sure you've done everything my offer template says to include. Proof of deposit funds, mortgage decision in principle, conveyancer lined up, and an offer to buy the search pack the day they accept your offer. If you miss out any one of those things, you are letting yourself down in terms of getting the chance of getting your offer accepted. Chloe S says, not a question, but thank you so much for your advice. Bought our home in March and your mortgage guys are top notch. Thank you very much. And guys, if you want to talk to my mortgage guys, always find your own independent whole of market mortgage broker that you trust. If you can't find one that you trust, I work with some fantastic guys and you can find them on my website at mhwc.co.uk/mortgage. Just there. All right. And if you go to my link tree in the description below, you can find a link there as well. Back to the chat. Yeah, Leandra Z says some lenders are only accepting the property with an EPC better than C. What will happen with properties D or E? What if they introduce minimum? Yeah, exactly. You are definitely going to be seeing valuations or property values diverge with the higher the EPC rating because energy costs are so high now compared to a few years ago. Johan Hennessy says, if you're planning to offer more than 10% off asking price, are you better off trying to get them to no? Just ignore the asking price. Just make your offer and be patient. Someone else said to me, he made their offer the other day, had to wait 10 days, but after 10 days they came back and accepted it. Just you've got to be patient. Cats123 says, hi Charlie, do you think prices will carry on going down this time next year? Yes. I mean, There will be exceptions. There'll be some regional exceptions. There'll be certain exceptions of certain kinds of properties in certain towns that outperform. But overall, generally, I don't think there'll be anything lifting property prices this time next year, because I think, as we showed near the beginning of the video, that Begbie's trainer, let me just, because I know there's 1,700 of you, which is some sort of record. It's incredible. Let me just remind you of this. Share this tab instead. Really important, guys. This was on 26th of April, so last week, and this is on the London Stock Exchange website. Okay. Latest red flag alert from Begbie's Trainer Group. Over 500,000 UK businesses fighting for survival as UK economy stagnates. This is why I think house prices will still be falling a year from now, because I think employment's going to get worse and pay is going to get worse as well. The level of significant financial distress leapt 30% year on year in Q1 2024, with 554,000 companies affected compared to 424,000 a year ago. Each of the 22 sectors covered by the red flag alert experienced a double-digit growth in financial distress over the last year. Construction, food and drug, and general retailer sectors in particular drove the increase in significant financial distress, up 38%, 40%, and 38% respectively in Q1. 40,000 UK businesses are in critical financial distress, a 20% increase on a year ago, making them especially vulnerable to failure in the next 12 months. That's just Google London Stock Exchange red flag alert Begbie's Trainer, and that will come up, because I haven't got that link to below. That's why I think house prices will carry on going down this time next year. Okay. Teddy said I didn't win all of them today over the last couple of weeks. Thank you. Sorry, Ted, the way you worded it. But it's not a wind-up. It's true, is it? Is it actually true? You did win all 12 of them over the last couple of weeks? That's cool. That's very, very cool. Kezia Noble says, if people, usually boomers, hi Kezia, still have money to burn, then they will pay inflated prices. Yes, they will, as they're downsizing. I don't disagree with that point. And that's why first-time buyer properties, or those middle sector properties where you got first-time buyers and second steppers competing with downsizing boomers, that's why those prices are holding it better than the top-end prices are. Elasta, I think I've said that right, says my chosen conveyancer won't even quote me until my offer's in. I'd maybe talk to another conveyancer. They should be able to give you, because have you asked them for a quote on the type? Do they know what kind of properties? Do they know if it's freehold or leasehold? Do they know the rough value? Right. If not, if they're being like that, I would just go and find a conveyancer that's more helpful, honestly. Thank you, Annie. I will do that. No, I haven't done a video on buying at auction. So Teddy has kindly clarified here. I meant the 12th valuation that you've won happened today. I can't even handle more than 5 vals a day if I want to be effective. I did win 12 in a row. Apologies for the confusion. Awesome. I'm so glad that wasn't a wind up, and that's just massive congratulations, Teddy. And if I've had any influence in what you've been doing, I'm chuffed to bits with that. Absolutely chuffed to bits with that. Anthony Keeley says, if so-called experts, i.e. estate agents, are overvaluing, how is Joe Bloggs supposed to know? Very good question. It's very, very difficult to know. I would keep on asking. If they're all saying roughly the same thing, I wouldn't believe any of them. You want to find the one that's got in this particular market, I'd be looking for the agent that's got the lowest valuation and asking them why, and telling them what the other one said and asking them what they think and asking them what their evidence was. Because they'll come around with evidence to back up their high valuation, but they can cherry pick that evidence, right? And they'll pick what supports them. Whereas if an agent that's got a lower valuation has got evidence to support it, I'd be really curious to see what that evidence was and why the other guys didn't show you that. Challenge them with it. Leo Lee says, at what point would you instruct the surveyor? At the point of a mortgage application? Well, if you're talking about a full building survey, I wouldn't, and you've got to get a mortgage done. You've got to get your mortgage survey done anyway before the mortgage offer will be confirmed. I just want to speed it up. If you wait and do one after the other, you might save a bit of money if one of them goes wrong. But actually, if I was a buyer and you're serious and you like it, I would just. The risk is smaller of losing a bit of money on a survey you didn't need than risking losing the transaction because it takes too long. And you might lose to another buyer, for example. The bank will choose their own valuation person, but you can choose your own building surveyor. SJT asks what my expectation is for house prices in 20 years, higher or lower than the peak. Honestly, nominally, they might be a bit higher than the peak in 20 years from now, but after adjusting for inflation, they're not going to be higher. Billy says, yeah, my recommended conveyancer has provided a quote prior to offer. Exactly that. So guys, also, if you haven't got a conveyancer that you trust, my conveyancers, my award-winning hand-picked conveyancing firm, fantastic. You can find those guys there. Now, otherwise, guys, I'm going to, in the absence of any more questions, relevant ones, you're welcome, Leo. Is it Tina B says, 20 years? He's got balls of steel, not crystal. Cora Ho says, will you talk about leasehold? I can only afford to buy leasehold flat. I know what to look out for. I'm so scared. With leasehold, you're just accepting more uncertainty. The question that I would ask my conveyancer if doing a leasehold purchase is, what is my maximum potential liability under the terms of this lease? What's the worst case scenario? And base your decision on that. That's what I would do. There are some leases that are okay. In certain situations, there are some leases where you've got a sort of private freehold, or maybe someone in the building owns the freehold, that kind of thing. I wouldn't automatically rule leasehold out. Generally speaking, if you've got an option to buy freehold, it's always preferable. But just really make sure you've got your head around the likely costs and the risks and everything else. When it's hard to find a new home that you can afford, and the only ones you can afford are leasehold, just remember there's a reason that they're cheaper, and it could be a trap. And actually, you might think you can afford to buy it, but can you afford to live in it is a different question. I'm sorry, I haven't seen your question. What question are you asking that I haven't responded to? Charlie never responds. If it's relevant to the topic, I'm answering all questions here. Can you copy and paste your question or type it again, Em? And if it's a relevant, valid question, I will answer it. Yeah, online conveyancing quotes. Don't do online conveyancing quotes. Will Reese, I got stuffed by an online conveyancer, quoted $2.5 grand, tried to charge 8. It's a bit like We Buy Any Car. Has anyone ever dealt with those jokers? Every now and then it might work out, but I mean, honestly, the only times I've ever tried to use them, they've absolutely taken the piss. They offer like 30-40% lower than their on-screen thing when you turn up there. Pointless. Come on, Em, where's your question? I'm curious to know what your question is now. I haven't noticed a question. Where is it? What would it take for house prices? Okay, I found your question. What would it take for house prices to be factored into inflation? I don't I don't know what you mean. What would it take for house prices to I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Apologies, Em. I don't understand the question. Um, right, guys, I'm way over. That's cool. Thank you to all 1,807 of you who are still watching this after an hour across all the platforms I'm on. And if you're new here, you can follow me on any platform: Facebook, Instagram, because a lot of you on Instagram are live. I know. I can't see your questions on Instagram live. You've got to ask them on either on Facebook or on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on X. Anywhere, I can't see Instagram questions in real time. Apologies to anyone. Yeah, I have been neglecting TikTok recently, and also, if these videos are too long for you to watch, all of them I upload the audio into my podcast channel. So wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere else, just search "Moving Home with Charlie" podcasts, and you'll find them, and you can listen to them there. And Joel Didcott Williams, thanks guys. I love you all too. Martin Coates, thank you. Tina, Jim Black, Katz, Annie, Ricky. Have a great one. I'll see you on the next one. And in the meantime, yeah, if you did like this video, click like. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, click subscribe because it helps. It really does. It helps get the message out there more. Helps me combat the guff. See you next one.